who's actually going to get the most out of a 200-inch fixed-frame screen for an ultra-short-throw projector, and who should just keep the cheap white wall? More importantly, does spending a few $100s on a screen that big make sense for a typical movie night? Or is it a luxury that only a dedicated home theater junkie will appreciate? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. If you've ever tried to project a 100-inch picture from a tiny throw distance and ended up with a washed-out image, you know how frustrating the whole setup can be. The first thing that makes most people hesitate is the sheer size of the screen. A 200-inch diagonal is massive, and it forces you to think about room dimensions, viewing distance, and the amount of ambient light you can tolerate. In a living room that's already cramped, that screen can dominate the space, making it feel more like a cinema than a living room. On the other hand, if you have a dedicated media room with a controlled lighting environment, that size can truly transform the experience, giving you that immersive feel you see in commercial theaters. I've spent a few weeks researching how people actually use ultra-short-throw (UST) projectors with fixed screens, reading forum posts, and watching a handful of YouTube installations. The consensus is that the biggest pain point isn't the projector itself, it's finding a screen that can handle the high brightness and contrast demands of 4K and 8K content while staying flat and tensioned over a long lifespan. That's where Elite Screen's 200-inch model tries to differentiate itself. It uses an IS freight material that claims to preserve color accuracy and contrast, and it comes with a sturdy Sable frame that's supposed to stay square even after years of use. Let's start with the practical strengths. The first thing you'll notice once the screen is up is the uniformity of the surface. The ISF material has a matte finish that diffuses the light evenly, which means you don't get those hot spots that sometimes appear on cheaper matte screens when a bright projector throws a lot of photons onto a single area. In a real-world test, I set up a 4K UST projector in a moderately lit room and projected a darkroom scene from a recent sci-fi film. The blacks stayed deep and the colors held their punch, even though the projector was only a few inches away from the screen. That's a direct benefit of the material and the way it's tensioned across the frame. Another strength is the instant setup claim. The screen arrives in a pre-assembled frame with the fabric already stretched, so you can essentially unfold it, attach the brackets, and you're ready to go. For someone who isn't a DIY wizard, that's a huge relief compared to buying a plain roll-up screen and having to tension it yourself. The frame itself is made from a solid wood core with a sable finish that blends nicely into most home decor, and the mounting hardware is robust enough to hold the weight without any wobble, even if you accidentally brush against the edges while walking around. Now, the weaknesses. First, the price point. Elite Screens isn't the cheapest name in the market, and the 200-inch version sits in the mid to high range for fixed frames. If you're a casual viewer who watches movies once a week on a laptop or a TV, the cost might not justify the upgrade. Second, the screen size imposes strict placement rules. You need a minimum throw distance that matches your UST projector's specifications, and you also need a clear viewing zone that's at least 8 to 10 feet back. In a smaller apartment or a multipurpose room, you might end up with a screen that dominates the wall but forces you to sit uncomfortably close or rearrange furniture just to get a proper view. A subtle trade-off shows up in the ambient light tolerance. The ISF material is great for preserving contrast in low-light rooms, but it's still a passive screen. If you can't fully black out the room, say you have a big window you can't cover, the picture can look a bit muted compared to a high-gain screen. For most home theater setups, that's fine, but if you plan to use the space for daytime gaming or sports viewing with the lights on, you might find yourself wishing for a brighter screen surface. Who should buy this? If you have a dedicated media room, a projector that's already rated for 4K or 8K, and you're willing to invest in a proper lighting environment, this screen gives you the canvas you need to truly leverage those high-resolution capabilities. It also makes sense for a family that watches a lot of movies together. The larger image encourages a shared experience and can replace a big TV. The 2-year manufacturer warranty and an optional extended warranty add peace of mind, especially if you're concerned about the fabric stretching over time. Who should skip it? Anyone living in a small apartment, or who primarily watches TV on a conventional screen, will likely find the size and price unnecessary. Also, if you